Thank you so much for staying with us. And if by chance you're viewing us on your mobile phone, well, it's because of the operations and activities of telecommunication companies. And quite recently, they have been pushing for 100% hike in tariff. However, there's been a lot of pushback, given the economic hardship that the Nigerian people are facing. Well, joining us for this discussion this morning is Vivian Douglas. She's a broadcast journalist. Good morning, Vivian. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good morning. Josh, you can hear us loud and clear, Vivian.
Vivian, you may have to unmute your device if you can. Okay, we have a bit of an issue with her connecting with us. We can see her. She's a beautiful face, but we cannot hear her.
She probably needs to unmute herself from her end.
All right. The tariff hike is upon us. I mean, this is one issue that has been brewing for a long time now. The telecommunications network providers have been saying clearly that they cannot continue at this rate, given the devaluation of the currency, the economic situation.
Inflation.
Everything has added monies. I mean, just look at it. Subsidy has been removed from power. Subsidy has been removed from fuel. I mean, even the subsidy that the government promised on food hasn't even been done. So there's virtually nothing that hasn't gone up except the price of data and networks.
It's understandable. However, the question is it coming at the right time?
What time is the right time, really?
Well, given, like you mentioned, inflation, devaluation, Nigerians are still grappling with a lot of things. And then talking about 100% hike, you could talk about 20, you could talk about 40, even 50%, but 100%? I'm itching to know what justification they have to,
All right, Vivian, can you hear us? Vivian, can you hear me? Okay, Vivian still cannot hear us, so hopefully we would connect with her. But I'm just saying, like, everything has added funds. I mean, even in communications with the executives of Telecommunications Network, MTN, they keep saying that even maintaining the equipment that they already have is difficult because they can't even declare profit. There's no profit to it. There's nothing to it.
While I understand that, it is also the job of the government to ensure availability of these services. On one hand, of course, the telecommunication companies are, trying to sustain and possibly scale if the, environment is right. But then, what's the need of providing services that people can't really afford? So my issue is, why 100% hike?
Well, the 100% hike might be very high, too high, really, given the situation that we found ourselves. But again, look at it this way. The government complains that there is no monies available to us to do infrastructure, and that's the reason why they remove subsidy on fuel. And so monies have been freed by that. Okay. Now, no few persons who are sitting around their homes and creating documents will come over tomorrow and say, you know what, get us some funds so we can import fuel. Everybody imports fuel at their own price at their own time. So monies is now available for government to do other things, right? That's one. Sure. The same thing with electricity. Government was subsidizing electricity for a long time. And now they say, you know what, we cannot scale up if we do not in any way remove subsidies, so that monies will be available to even create more infrastructure to move the megawatt that we have from 4,500 to at least 8,000 or even 10,000. These are about monies being freed, to make monies, available for the organization. The same thing that telecommunication is saying. You can't devalue our currency. You can't, increase virtually everything. And then you say we should remain at a certain place. Every other sector has increased. Everything else, apart from data, price has increased. Sure. So why do you think that it's not very important for telecommunications to increase their prices, even though not up to 100%, but at least to a point where, it could be fair enough, for them to be able to even operate in the first place.
I hear you. Every single person, every single business has actually, increased their prices of products and services to still be in business, and telecommunications shouldn't be an exception, given the fact that these guys are essential services. They have become essential services, and they contribute, I think, the third to internally to GDP rather of the country. So it's a space that definitely needs to be taken seriously. All right, let's get back to our guests. Good morning, Vivian. Trust you can hear us now.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show, Vivian. So let's just get straight to the point. 100% hike in tariff, and there's been a lot of pushback by stakeholders, government as well. Now, what do you think, from your perspective, there could be justification for 100% hike? I mean, 20 we can understand, 40 maybe, 50. Well, yes, we may be able to bear that, but 100% hike, what do you think are the justifications for this?
When we talk about justifications, one of the things we always like to look at is how it affects us, like what is in our own interest. But the thing is, these guys are in business. And because they're in business, we all know what the economic situation in Nigeria is like. When the President Tinubu came into power, we all know that from Eagles Square, he announced no more subsidy. At that point, when there is hike in the primary source of logistics, which is fuel, diesel, and all of that, so naturally, it's expected that these guys are in Nigeria, they are running business even prior to this time. The rate at which they charge Nigerians and other countries where they operate are different because of the accessibility to power supply, for instance. Now, they run an organization just like everyone, just like Signature TV. They run an organization. In that organization, it is only fair that you understand that they have to pay staff, they have to maintain their equipment, they will have to basically manage the business. Now, if you now couple that with the cost of power supply, of course, you know about the Band A issue and all of that. To us, subscribers, it may not be ideal, it may not be what we would want, it may not be that 100% high, because it's like saying, oh, if I'm paying 5,000 naira for a data of about 18 gig or thereabouts, I'm not going to be paying like 10,000 naira. Now, that also accumulates to the expenditure of the average Nigerian. So I understand why the Subscribers Association of Nigeria, Subscribers Association of Nigeria would have a problem with that. But let's be sincere, let's be fair. It's been years since, till this morning, they're still charging SMS at 4 naira. And that's with all the increase and all the issues that seem to be going on in Nigeria today. So I think, let's be fair. Is it going to affect the subscribers? You and I, yes, it's going to affect us. But hey, somehow we'll find a way to survive. Somehow we've accepted that this is our fate. If you look back at what the cost of a bag of rice is right now, if you look back at the cost of basic vegetables in the market, as long as the source of logistics for these products are very high, the cost of fuel, for instance, we're talking about 700-800 as a few months ago, just about December or thereabout. The increase it to 1,000 plus. Just a few days ago, I saw some filling station selling 1,040 naira. Some are selling 1,070 naira per liter. So I think generally it's understandable that this hike is going to happen. Now the challenge is, why 100%? The question again is, taking back to the marketplace. What exactly do you used to buy at maybe 200 naira that is not about 400 or 600 naira? Some of them are even at about 4 or 3 times the usual cost, and we still buy them. Is it fair? No. Is it right? No. But it boils down to those who are managing our system. I remember that the minister the day or thereabouts ago said that, oh, there's going to be a hike, but it's not going to be 100%. So yesterday they were supposed to have a meeting at 2 p.m. But as of this morning, I don't seem to know the outcome of that meeting. Whatever it is, we are still at a point where we are being held by the neck. Our neck is being pressed down by those who are taking the lead amongst us, and that is the government of the day. Until they are willing to manage the issues surrounding means of livelihood in this country, the basic wealth of the average Nigerian. I don't think, passing blame to the telecommunication companies or any other organization that's running business in Nigeria will be fair. And I think that's just what it is.
All right, thank you so much, Vivian. I just heard you mention about negotiations and meetings that are ongoing, in respect to this issue. Now, is there a possibility of reduction in the numbers, maybe from 100% to something lower? Because I understand that cost-reflective tariffs, pegging tariffs that are, affordable for the masses is the priority of government and certain stakeholders. Now, do you think there's a possibility of a reduction in the percentage of increment, at the end of the day?
Yeah, there should be with a government that understands there's this for concession when it comes to the masses, because telecommunication is something that practically every aspect of the that we need in every aspect of our country, from health to education to running the industries, basic businesses today. A lot of people are surviving via online businesses. Everybody needs telecommunication, from the aircraft and all what have you. But the question is, like you said, will the government understand that there is need to help the telecommunication company, maybe subsidize their taxation or something, that so that it will be easy for all? That is one question that you and I may not be have the ability to answer right now. Like I said, I read yesterday morning that there will be a meeting between the government and the telecommunication stakeholders. Somehow, I don't think that panned out, because at this moment there seems not to be any concrete information on that. Now, we hope that at least there could be a 40% increase. That's a bit reasonable considering the present economic situation in Nigeria. But you see, we can't really tell what the outcome would be. While the telecom stakeholders are insisting on a 100% increase, the Nigerian government, the minister Tijani, is saying, oh, there will be an increase, but it's not going to be 100%. Well, we just keep our fingers crossed and hope that something will be done. Again, that would also be government subsidizing the cost of subscription and what have you to the with the telecommunication guys, so that we could get it lesser. That may also be what we're running away from fuel subsidy and other subsidy in education that we've been talking about for years. Long story short, there will be an increase. Whether it's going to be a 100%, we may not tell. But from what the minister said, if we're to hold on to that, we can say, okay, there will be an increase, but maybe it's not going to be a 100%.
All right. If you look at the tariffs across the African continent, looking at countries like Ghana, Angola, Egypt, even Algeria, even South Africa, if you compare the prices of tariffs and data in those countries, Nigeria for far less. In fact, I was looking at the numbers. Nigeria's 10 gigabytes is going for 3,000 naira, and the average across the African continent, aside Nigeria, is way above 10,000 naira in terms of both the calculation of the dollar or the currency that they use locally. The telecommunications are saying, look, for us to be able to be sustainable and for the business to scale, you just have to, be at par with what's going on, in the economy. Because we were even speaking to the MTN CEO recently, and he said, look, if this doesn't happen, the situation will get to a point where they will start rationing data. That rationing in terms of, that was like what they ration light. They will start rationing data, and network will be so poor. These are the justifications, for the fact that this tariff hike must happen. Don't you think so?
Okay, like I said, it's not even about whether I think so, or whether I agree, or you agree, or anybody agrees. It's even fair to say that they have been kind, telecommunications stakeholders have been kind. For I think about 10 years, there hasn't been an increase. And if you also consider the fact that it's been almost 2 years since the hike in practically everything in this country happened, and they are yet to increase. As of April last year, they did talk about, hike in tariff and all of that. But you see, the way the Nigerian system works, it's like, okay, there will be hype, but what is going to be the outcome? This is something that the government of the day should have handled, NCC and all of that, but they didn't handle. Now it has come to the point where they have no option. Imagine now I'm using the internet, and if at some point during this maybe 30 minutes conversation, I'm not able to deliver because my data is being rationed, that's actually the kind of impact it will have if nothing is done. Now you talked about other countries like South Africa and all of that, how their cost of data is higher than ours. You also need to understand that some of these countries, they don't charge them for calls different from what they charge them for data. You pay for your service, you subscribe monthly, and you can make your calls, you can do everything with that. Unlike in Nigeria, where you pay for data separately, you pay your internet data separately, you pay for your call data, your voice call data separately if you're using the normal cellular and all of that. But also,
But you
the
can
market
use you
forces
can use you also use the data to make calls.
but that's like on WhatsApp and maybe Facebook
Yes.
Messenger. But your number, cellular call to a phone number to phone number, basically, you can't do that. You have to subscribe separately for that. And if you also talk about another thing to consider is that the market forces in each of these countries also dependent on the prevailing economic situation in that country, and that's what determines what the outcome of each cost of living in each of these countries will be. Now, and the availability of services is also another factor. If you consider, for instance, that the number of the internet telecommunication companies in Nigeria that are providing services right now, what is the number? If you remember during the elections, one of the factors that came to play is that there are some places where they were talking about voting and all of that. There are some places where you don't have internet connection, proper internet. The internet connection is still in Nigeria today. So I think what also determines the cost of living in terms of commodities, whether data and all of that, happens to be the market forces that are prevalent in each of these countries. You know what we have had to go through when it comes to fuel and all of that. And then the kind of government they run, the response of the citizens of that from the citizens' office. These are all factors that get to determine what the cost of commodities or services in each of these countries might be. But Nigeria, we're a special case, and I'm sure you know that already.
All right, thank you, Vivian. However, some schools of thought have actually come out to say that it is wrong to place the bulk of the financial burden on consumers, for operators to place the burden of finance on consumers. But there are several other ways to drive operational sustainability. What's your thought on this?
Right, when you talk about operational sustainability, like I said at the initial, you buy fuel. If you drive a car, you buy fuel or you use diesel engine, it depends. Um, PMS or diesel. If you're running an organization, you also use you can't even say that for the most part you can depend on the national power supply. We know what that looks like. That could mess you up. I'm sure you're running Signature TV right now. I bet you're on a generator or some solar powered system because you're not sure, you don't have the power to regulate the power supply in this country. It could go off at any time, even with a band aid. Now, when people say that you shouldn't be dependent on the subscribers to pay for the 100% hike, I find it interesting. Telecommunication companies are service providers. They provide service for consumers. Consumers can range from governments to banks, industries, factories, and one individuals like you and I have buy our data and all. We are all consumers. So when they say, oh, it's not good to leave it on these consumers, we're obviously asking the government to subsidize telecommunication in Nigeria. But again, like I said, you already know how that pans out. One story from the other and all of that. Is it going to be sustainable if the government decides to subsidize telecommunication cost in this country? I don't think that's the ideal thing to use. So making it look like, oh, this is punishment on the subscribers. I don't see how. Every business owner should understand this. It's primarily about getting back to managing yourself, what you use, how you use it, just like we've been doing with our food, our basic food items, logistics, and what have you. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy. You already know the number of airlines that are not operational in Nigeria right now between last year and now. And a lot of other countries that left Nigeria because the cost of operation in Nigeria is beyond what they could manage. Now, if these guys are saying even if we're going to stay to do business, we'll be rationing the data that we provide, that also says that even those who can afford it may not readily have it when they need it. So I don't think it's something about undoing the subscriber, the consumers, if you may, because every industry that you and I know are dependent on telecommunications one way or another. So, but they also, the individuals who are doing business in Nigeria, they also need to survive and get to run their businesses. Bottom line is that the government needs to fix the Nigerian economy. When they do that, and stop all of the stories they are doing A, B, C, D, or D. When they do that, everything may fall into place. But as it is, I don't see how this is about the consumers. Bottom line, manage what you can afford. Otherwise, we have to face the music. We are all in this together. It's not about the telecommunication company. It's about you and I and what is readily available to us.
All right, then. Vivian Douglas, broadcast journalist, many thanks for your time. We truly appreciate your thoughts on the show. We hope that it's not a 100% increase because it would definitely affect everything. You know, maybe like my colleague said, 50%, but I'm saying maybe at least up a bit, 70%, so that there might be some scaling. Many thanks for your time. Truly appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're back shortly after this. Do stay with us.